Hey, this is JT. Welcome to the backyard and welcome to Bodyweight Strength. In this video, I'm going to be giving you step 1 to the planche progression playlist. So over time, this playlist will take you all the way to a full planche. Although in full disclosure, I don't yet have a full planche. I've got a straddle planche. And a big part of that is because my lower body is well developed. My legs are not skinny. My calves are not small. And so in a planche or in a lot of these advanced gymnastics isometric holds, having heavy legs is a serious disadvantage. So you see a lot of calisthenics guys and they have very small legs and a bigger upper body, and that's hugely advantageous when you're performing some of this stuff. And in my case, that doesn't apply. And so my lower body being a lot heavier makes some of these movements a lot more difficult and a lot higher intensity than they would be for someone else. And so once I get my full planche, which is probably going to take me a few more months at this rate, then I'll have that final video in this progression. But be that as it may, none of that matters. Just about anybody can start with the first step in training for planche. And what this first step is going to do is going to really start to help you build additional shoulder strength. Planche is extremely difficult to perform, not only because it requires core strength, it requires, like a lot of advanced bodyweight strength elements, it requires a lot of strength throughout the entire kinetic chain, but specifically the shoulders, the torque on the shoulders is very, very high. So as you start to progress through this playlist, I think you're going to notice that. And one thing I suggest as you're moving through the planche progression playlist is make sure that you meet the progression standard before you move on to the next step. And that's to allow you to develop your shoulders to a point so that you do not injure your shoulders. For this first progression, which is going to be a planche plank and or a planche plank with feet elevated, what you're going to be doing is working toward a solid 30-second hold. Once you've got a 30-second hold, then you can move on to the second progression, which is going to be your tuck planche. And when you do move on to that second progression, and I'll talk about it in that video as well, when you do move on to that second progression, what I recommend is that you still warm up with a planche plank or elevated planche plank for 30 seconds, working up to a 1-minute hold, and then rest, and then start your work on your tuck planche. And without further ado, I'm going to demonstrate the planche plank and the feet elevated planche plank. I'm going to demonstrate the planche plank, and one of the things that might limit you, you don't need an advanced level of strength or athleticism to perform this movement, so just about anyone can do it. However, you are going to need to have a lot of wrist extension. And so that means that you're going to have to be able to extend the wrist back this way in order to bring the palms of your hands down toward your hips, or you can move the hands out at 45 degrees or even out to 90 degrees if need be, although it's not going to be as easy to maintain balance with your wrists externally rotated to 90 degrees. And so one of the things that you can do if wrist extension is an issue for you, I will link you right now to some drills that you can do to help improve wrist mobility that I've done in a past video. But also you can get yourself a pair of dumbbells to grab onto or parallettes such as this, and that'll allow you to keep a neutral grip, and so you don't have to worry about wrist extension in order to perform your planche plank. So if you're familiar with a traditional high plank, that's going to be a plank with arms extended, so that's what we're going to do. Once in that position, I'm going to basically slide my wrists back toward my hips, and the big thing to keep in mind when you're performing this planche plank is that you are going to be in a hollow body position. If you've been watching my content, I'm sure you know what a hollow body position is. If you don't, I'm going to link you to that right now. You can go check that out and learn how to do a proper hollow body. But what we're going to do is get into a hollow body position, and so I'll go ahead and do that now. I'm not going to use these yet, but I'm going to get into a hollow body position, and so I've got compressed core, my glutes are tight, I've got my hands here on the deck with protracted shoulders, so my shoulders are pushed down toward the floor, so hopefully you can see that. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to walk myself forward so you can see that wrist extension I was talking about. And as I'm bringing my palms back toward my waist, I'm simply going to hold this, keeping my shoulders protracted, and that's going to be your planche plank. Now, that may be a little bit difficult for some people, and a lot of it again is going to be because of that wrist extension. And so what you're going to do is get your parallettes or your dumbbells, and you're going to basically do the exact same thing. So you're going to get into that hollow body plank. From the hollow body plank, nice and tight, shoulders protracted. You're going to walk yourself forward, and as you walk yourself forward, you're going to get to whatever point where you feel like if you go any further, you're going to fall over. You're just going to hold that position. And when you're holding this plank, what's happening is you've got to be cognizant to keep pressing hard down to keep those shoulders protracted. If at any point during planche work you start to lose that protraction, it's over. And so the biggest thing to keep in mind, the biggest mental cue for all your planche work, strong protraction, press down as hard as you can with those shoulders. That's what you're going for. And the reason I have the chair here is as this starts to become a little bit too easy, when you can get to 30 seconds of this planche plank, then what you're going to do is you're going to put your feet on top of the chair, like this. Nice hollow body. And then you can actually try it this way with your toes if that feels better for you. And actually I'd suggest that because eventually you're going to do these with pointed toe anyway. And you're going to walk yourself forward, fully protract those shoulders, and you're going to hold that position. And you're going to notice that this is going to be significantly harder than that standard plank I just did. And so, depending on where you are at currently with your athleticism, with your strength, you're going to either do the plank in a hollow body position where you walk your palms toward the midline of the body, and that's going to be your planche plank, or you're going to put those feet on the chair and you're going to do what you just saw me do, which is the same thing, but instead of the body being at a 45-degree angle to the ground in the planche plank, you're going to be parallel to the ground, which is going to place a higher intensity on the shoulders through that protraction, and it's going to help you build additional strength when you have those feet elevated. So that's the 2 steps that should carry you over for a few months, in all honesty, for most people. And when I get to it, I will have the next video in the planche progression playlist up, and you can keep making gains. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please click subscribe, click the notification bell, and as always, thank you for watching this video, and thank you for supporting Bodyweight Strength.